I think it's key what you just said. It's always betting on knowing your fans. I think that's a marker that's missed in a lot of different things.
True.
Like you gotta set expectations.
Yeah.
Like you get upset over something. Did you communicate it? Did you have a discussion about it? Most of the times it's like, oh well, no. Well, I mean that's what the disconnect is.
Yeah.
Right? But most people, I think they understand when they have expectations.
Yeah, for sure. Like again, I say that I never had mentors growing up. So my mentor was Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. I got taught by the best coaches in the world, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley. So I saw their styles, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of take a little bit from everybody, kind of made it my own.
Yeah.
Again, I'm 41, so I'm in that maybe the last millennial, yo. So I got all the old school hard work people, but I also got the new millennial bullshit. So I put everything together. So
Find your style.
Yeah, find my style. So.
And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. But also, this new money will be sovereign in nature. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private, but what I see are superpowers introducing digital currency. Digital money and digital accounting accommodate the competing needs of the citizens of all these locations so that every human being has a chance to have a better life.
I'm out tonight and I'm willing to find you. I wanna know if only you think about how it is to live in the ghetto. Say what you got, always have to fight. I want money, you know that's what you got is my money. I want money, you know that's what you got is my money.
Sheesh.
Woo!
That was fire.
That's a fire ass song.
Yes, sir. I want money.
Live in the ghetto. Oh, man. Jimmy,
Yes, sir.
building growth, building an empire. Which habits are you willing to leave behind and which habits are you taking with you into this new year? Whether you're looking into developing a new skill, a better lifestyle, a healthy diet, better friends, better job opportunities, better goals, or financial growth, one thing's for sure. Learning and adaptability are fundamental to anything.
Yes, sir.
Listen, we must be able to learn from our mistakes and turn those lessons into finer decision making. We must be able to adapt to different environments because being comfortable with being uncomfortable can play a major advantage when climbing the mountain of life. Shout out to that.
Yes, sir.
One thing we all have in common as human beings is we all want to be financially stable. How good are you with your money? How good are you at saving? Do you have a plan of action in place for your future? How can you successfully set financial goals to really set yourself up for success? Ladies and gentlemen, we have an amazing guest today who can help answer these questions. This man has built an imperium legacy and has successfully helped people build a roadmap to success with their finances that has set up individuals for great financial literacy and worth. Shout out to that, man.
Yes, sir.
Tough job. The human GPS, Jimmy. He's the president and founder of JCV Wealth. He's on the Yorba Linda, Tustin, and Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. And he's got a new and hot podcast coming to the table where he allows people to tell their stories about the ups and downs and road to their successes and financial gain. He believes love is patient and love is kind. He trusts that faith and family is everything. And he truly believes that wealth is for everyone.
Yes, sir.
We have the master financial advisor himself here in the flesh. We have Juan Carlos Vazquez, baby. Do a little shotgun.
That's it. How are we today, gentlemen?
Good man. Welcome.
Welcome, man. So like we always like to do, first off, tell the audience who you are, where you're from, really dive into your upbringing, your morals and memories that made you who you are today.
Absolutely. Well, hey, gentlemen, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate that. Yeah, man, just a little bit about myself. Juan Carlos Vazquez. I reside in Costa Mesa, California right now. I grew up basically in Costa Mesa. Had a little stint in Santa Ana as I was growing up. And I'm a financial planner, a human GPS for financial planning. That's what I do. And I do it because I think a lot has to do with the sacrifices that my parents went through as I was growing up, you know, and as you know, you guys know, you know, when you come here, my parents came here at a very ripe age. You know, I think my dad was like 19. My mom was, 19 when she came here. They met, got married, and then a year later I pop out. You know, so it was that short love. Let's get it done. And my parents had a lot of family here. I had a lot of family in Garden Grove, Santana, Los Angeles. But the one thing that they knew about, having, I guess, a good upbringing for their kids was to be in a location that made sense for a more prosperous future. So they decided that they were going to live in Costa Mesa. So I grew up in Costa Mesa. So that's how it all got started.
Beautiful city.
It is beautiful.
Beautiful city, yeah.
It's like that in between that not a lot of people know of, which is no longer, I think, the case. A lot of people are starting to really pick up on Costa Mesa. You can't really get a deal on real estate anymore. So it's definitely changed from when I was growing up. But it did bring a lot of, I would say, opportunities, a lot of hurdles that, a lot of my other family didn't have to endure. They lived in a very Latino-rich community. And back in that time, Santana wasn't what it is today. Okay. Garden Grove isn't what it was today. And so my parents knew that staying away from that area was going to be the best for our upbringing. So my upbringing was a lot of ups and downs. My parents struggled every day. Very expensive to live in a community that had different morals and different objectives for their community.
Definitely.
So I think in kindergarten, for the first couple of years, I was the only non-Caucasian student in my grade. So that tells you a little bit more about the community we really lived in. I am one of 4. I have 2 younger brothers and 1 older brother. And, we grew up very poor. I mean, we grew up trash picking for food. Because the money that was being brought in was for rent and was to live in that community. My parents sacrificed just about anything and everything you can think of to get me and my brothers the best that this world could offer. So the whole financial planning idea and what I do with financial literacy and how passionate I am about everybody having great financial literacy comes from that, where, I saw them struggle. And, I've listened to all your podcasts, and that's a common theme amongst some of the Latino guests that you've had is, seeing your mom wake up at 4, coming back at 6, then grinding with the 4 kids at home, and then going to sleep and starting all over again.
Having the food ready at 5 a.m., bro. Just like, don't miss that.
Hot and
don't
shit.
miss that. And still go to work, come back, finish prepping up the food and
clean laundry.
Yeah, that's, I think, the key. While your home is pristine.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
true.
Shout out to my mom.
Fucking strength. God.
Yeah, right. My dad grinding all day. I didn't really see him for a long time, as I was growing up. But my mom, hustle, no matter what, right? And it's just the beauty of it. Looking back at it now, when I was growing up, I was like, I hate this. I hate this upbringing, like I want to take my lunch to school. I don't want to grab lunch from the cafeteria. I want to have a snack for recess. I didn't have any of that. There's just no extra change. Right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of the foundational, I think, what do I want to call them? The foundational reasons for why JCV Wealth Management exists is definitely all about my upbringing.
Yeah.
You don't understand it unless you go through it, and you don't understand it unless you have, parents that were immigrants, and you don't understand it unless you were trash picking, or you're 6 years old and you're already in the back of the truck helping hustle, whatever that side hustle is, right? Because they have daily jobs, but then they have that side hustle.
Yeah.
And so, when I was growing up, it was just, I didn't have a childhood. My wife sometimes picks on me a little bit. Like, man, you're such a child. Yeah, finally, I got a chance.
I got some freedom. You know what I'm saying? I'm financially stable. I can do some things now. You know what I'm saying?
If it's like 30 minutes on the PS with my son playing Fortnite, like, I thoroughly enjoy that time. It's not just him and I hanging out. Sometimes it's like, bro, I think I enjoyed it way more than you did, just because, it wasn't available when I was growing up. So, so I think the financial part, that was a huge missing point when we were growing up, that I wanted to make sure that my family and those that are in my circle, whether that's inner or outer circle, can always take something away from me that if they implement in their financial picture, it will better their life. Nice. And so, on top of that, of course, the regular, I would say the regular morals you pick up in a Latino culture, respectful, right? You show up somewhere, hey, buenas tardes, how are you?
Yeah.
The handshake, right? And have it be diligent. None of this like, oh, let me flimsy throw the hand over to you, right? And it's saluda a todos. Yeah. Say hi to everybody. You go on and it's like, if you showed up late to the party, like, man,
like 80 people.
Right? It's like the end of the party. What? I just got to finish saying hi to everybody. The party, right? So respect was huge, and their methods of also obtaining that respect from us was different, right? Like, their upbringing was, man, I'm getting caught up with that word, upbringing. They experienced a lot of more physical, I would say, love. And so I think my parents, finding that balance, but I think we still felt a lot of those ramifications of their upbringing as well. So I think, the respect factor was something that you learned. I'm going to go out there and say a little bit more like you were forced to learn that respect. I would say looking back at it, I don't regret it at all. I mean, I am super happy that it happened the way that it happened, because it is the man that I am today.
Absolutely.
And I know that particular moral, far exceeds almost anything else that is Juan Carlos, Yeah. So the respect that you have for others and the respect you have for yourself. I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
That's huge, right? I had mentors along the way. Emery and Kathleen Frank, they were our landlords when we were in Costa Mesa. And I wish I would have taken advantage then. And I think I'd be in a different place today. Yeah. But I'm still very proud of where I am today. Yeah. But I certainly feel that I'd be in a much bro, I'd be a household name by now. That's the goal, right?
Let's go.
I'm in this world to change people's lives. That's why my passion is so big on.
Yeah, you can feel it for sure when we encounter you and meet you and talk to you, and you start getting to know what you do for a living, and you can tell you're passionate.
I'm just
about it.
There's so much small tweaks that can be done. That can have huge ramifications, right? One of the things that Emery and Kathleen used to do for me and my brothers is every Christmas they'd give us $75
what
to go and spend, so we would have Christmas presents.
Wow.
Okay. So this, and in looking back at it now, what amazing, obviously the whole idea of doing that is amazing, but the lessons, one, that should be an aspiration for you, giving back to those who really need it. Okay. And doing it out of love. not because you want something in
True.
return.
True.
I mean, I'm going to tell them to listen to this podcast and they're going to just be like, I can't believe you said our name. Like that was the last thing I ever thought you would say, because they do things with never expecting anything in return.
Absolutely.
I mean, these two individuals I wish the world had more of these people.
Wow. Are they still doing what they're doing?
They live in Florida now. They were in
Okay.
Costa Mesa for a long time. They're both retired. They're, well in their senior years.
Right.
But they are probably healthier than most of us are. Because they live a very healthy lifestyle.
Nice.
But man, I love them. They are just as much as like, if I had to put love on them, it'd be like they're like my grandparents. That's how much I love them. I admire them as individuals and the platform that they've given me. Even now, I take more advantage of it because I'm older. I understand.
Yeah.
But so they take us out for Christmas, and so then my brothers and I would have to, it's like we felt the world was getting thrown at us. Like, whoa, let's okay. What are you gonna get? Are you sure? Like, this is your only chance. You're
That's
gonna
a
get
lot,
this.
you know?
This is your only chance, right? And so we'd have to figure out what we really wanted. So being able to digest and say, hey, look, we need to be concise with our decision here. Second thing we learned is how to partner together. So my brother spends $70 and he's got $5 to go, right? We were so used to, like, we got $5. Like, dude, I want to spend that on like a couple packs of gum or
dulce,
something,
candies,
right? Dulces,
chips,
right?
and
'Cause
shit.
we don't normally get that. But put our minds together. I already spent 70. My brother spent 70. And then my other brother this year wanted something that would propel him to be $10 above his budget. And then we'd work as a team. Okay, this year you're going to get that extra $10. And then next year, if we get the fortune of having this happen again, if you have leftover money, you have to give it up.
Ooh, okay.
And then that's how we did it for a lot of years, right? We'd help each other out. So again, working as a team and understanding the dynamic of finances at that point, like, si no abarca, okay, what can we do to help, right? So that was huge. And starting my own practice, JCV Wealth Management, the nuances of being a dad, of being, a business owner, of being a real estate owner, of immersing myself in my relationship, trying to be that dad, trying to make sure that my parents are good, living in a world that is full of like craziness, right?
Yeah.
COVID-19 a couple of years ago, being Latino, facing a lot of, of those looks like, what the hell are you doing here? This is not your scene. You don't belong here. And having to, build the confidence eventually to come home. Like I a lot of times coming home to my wife saying like, you know what, today, I think today was the day I knew I belonged in this group, and I'm going to show these people, what it should look like, in my own way. And so, JCV Wealth is not only my practice, but it's a platform where I can really outlive my passion and still pay the bills. I think that's the beauty of it. Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank said once said in a small conference that I had, he said to us that, small businesses don't break because of financials. They break because there's no passion, or the passion wasn't there, or the passion gave out. I 100% agree with that. Like looking back, my parents, their passion was to get us through whatever we need to get through. So they had a high level of grind. Yeah. They were very forward looking, which is very, very hard to find in our community, like in our Latino culture, right? Yeah. People is like, well, my tax return is coming, like since we're in tax season, my tax return is coming, and I've already spent that money.
Mentally it's gone.
Yeah, right? They've already purchased something that when that return comes in, they're going to use that money to pay their credit card down, right? Yeah. Or you want to talk to them about, this is the one that is just amazing to me. Let me ask you both a question. What's the one thing you're guaranteed in this lifetime?
Death and taxes.
Death. Okay. Death and taxes if you live here for sure. Death, right? And what is the one thing that we struggle with as a Latino community?
Not having life insurance?
Not having life insurance.
Ooh, really?
Bro, how many times you see the group fund me or GoFundMe?
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
For funerals.
The kermés, the food drive, the car wash. Like, you're talking about someone passes, you have to deal with the grief, and then the stress of the financial needs not being met.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to go through that when the one thing in this life that is guaranteed is death? And there's a solution to it. It's called life insurance.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's mind-boggling how many times I have conversations with people. And I have something in my social media, a funny reel that I put up, common reasons why people don't want life insurance. No me voy a morir today. I'm not dying today. Right? Bury me in the backyard. Like, who cares? Oh, my kids will take care of it. Whatever. They can deal with it. Just take me back to my homeland. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, all that costs money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the money for that, like, what happens, right? And it's like I always say this to everybody when I'm doing community seminars and work and stuff like that. With one hand, I'm sure really quickly you can think of 5 people that you know that have gone through someone passing and they no longer talk to a family member because you didn't help out enough while they were living. You are not giving enough money, and now we have to do this car wash and this and that and blah, 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 right? Yeah, like, true. We all know somebody.
Yeah. It just happened to me like a year or 2 ago with my family, so.
Yeah, like, we all know, right? Like, my mom, she's not okay with some of her, family members because they, feel like, she didn't give enough or he didn't give enough or whatever it may be, right? When... my grandma lived with my mom, so she's one of those where it's like, hey, I would want some more help from you guys. Well, why are you asking me? Like, if you're, doing so good, you should just take on that responsibility. And it's like, well, no, I mean, she's like, we're all her kids. It's not just one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we can all think of, 5 people. I mean, super easy.
Yeah.
And why not? And at the same time, it's like we always think these things are so out of our reach, right? When life insurance, like, dude, bro, it could be as cheap as $10. It could be as
and you
much.
won't even notice that it's going.
Like, let's stop going to Jack in the Box one time a month and you're dropping $40 if you're a family. Yeah. And guess what? You use that $40 for life insurance. And now, of course, everyone's profile and everyone's needs are going to be a little bit different. Yeah. But I am all, in my world, I don't use words like guarantee. And but I am extremely certain that everyone can afford life insurance. Yeah. Everyone can. Yeah. And not only will you be changing your own family's life, but also their generations to come, because they're going to tell their kids, you know what, I didn't struggle.
How does it work exactly with life insurance? Like, okay, let's just say I pass and I have like a $200,000 plan. Does it immediately cover the finances of like the funeral and all that stuff?
Yeah, it depends on the type of policy that you have, but there's certainly policies that will give you, a distribution right away, right? Contingent on verifying some points and things like that, right?
I see.
But the whole idea of it is, they pass. They need verification of the passing. Right. They need verification that the passing was within their scope of business, right? So, sometimes if it's an intentional passing, that is not qualifying for certain carriers and things like that. Yeah. But in general, it's that quick, man. Like, wow. And sometimes you don't even have to go that extreme. Like 200,000, someone may say like, oh my God, honestly, it's not expensive to have $200,000 in coverage. Yeah. It's really not.
Yeah.
So if we just said even like $50,000, like $50,000 gets everything done and some.
Yeah.
Right. And there's like policies that are specifically designated for that particular event in your life.
Wow.
So, those are some of the things that I just feel like, man, and so.
And there's a lot more benefits to that. I heard you can borrow from that, and
Absolutely.
A couple of different policies, and so you can borrow from it. Or so there's so many different, but
the scope of life insurance is really you're talking about something more like permanent life insurance.
Yeah,
it's a type of policy. Again, each profile is going to be different, but it's a policy that you can contribute into. Day one, they're going to give you a death benefit. So, for example, just some numbers to throw out there. Let's say you're doing $100 a month, and your beneficiaries day one if something happened to you. So let's say you got the policy today. On the way home right now, something happens to you. Your beneficiaries would receive 100,000, whatever that amount was,
Right off the bat,
right
day
off
one?
the bat, day
Really?
one, right?
Wow.
That is a circumstance that a life insurance policy didn't see coming, right? So that's why you want it, right? For the unexpected.
Yes.
Yeah, you never
Right?
know.
That's why you want it. So, so what happens is then, you keep contributing.
Right.
Flash forward 20 years. You haven't there's no need for that policy just yet. You're in good health condition, and now you've built up what is called cash value. So from what you've contributed and from what the life insurance company will also associate as investment growth, they'll give you a certain amount that you can pull out. So let's call it 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
You can use that 50,000 in your lifetime.
No interest or anything like that?
No interest, no taxes, no nothing. Okay. So you have 100,000. Let's say, you know what, I'm going to go buy, I don't know, what's going to cost me 50,000 in one. Okay, I'm going to go buy myself some Lakers front row season ticket.
Yes, sir.
Buy Riri
like
too.
that,
I want to
huh?
be by
That's
Rihanna.
I'm gonna buy that in my lifetime
Let's
one
do
day,
it.
bro.
Let's do
That's
it.
an experience.
It's an experience, bro, right? If you haven't
gotta
done
do
it,
it. I
if
gotta
you've
do
never
it.
sat front row,
Courtside.
make that a goal in your financial plan. Like
I bet that's a fucking
it's
amazing.
unbelievable. So you drop the 50 grand, you have your season tickets. Then God says to you the next day, "Hey Jimmy, sorry, but you're not gonna see a game. We need you now."
Oh,
Okay.
fuck.
What happens, right? Your beneficiaries are still going to get the remaining amount that's left over from that policy. So they get $50,000
Okay.
tax free. So you built investment growth through tax free opportunities.
Right.
Then you had tax free distributions because you used that money, you didn't pay any taxes.
Right.
And then you got to a point where you were able to change your beneficiaries' lives by giving them some money tax-free.
Amazing.
I mean,
That's crazy.
People don't think like, why is that not obtainable for anybody, right? Well, a lot of the times it's because, well, look, I want to get the new truck.
Yeah.
I have a client of mine, our financial plan had nothing written in it about a new car, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I bought the new car. Why? Well, I wanted it. Like it was just like I really wanted it.
My neighbor bought one too, so
Yeah.
he couldn't outdo me.
I gotta keep up.
And then I said, okay, so el chistecito, ¿cuánto te cuesta? How much is it gonna cost you? $700 a month,
Gee, go.
right?
But you can't pay $50 a month for life insurance.
Exactly. Come on, man. Exactly.
That's something.
Exactly.
Once you leave, day one, you're covered.
Yeah.
Like, what?
We all know somebody, right? We're predatory in our community, right? Like, we see fulano de tal, he went out and bought a truck and it cost him $800 a month, but he got the truck of his dreams, right? Because there is something to say about how you're judged by what you have, what you're giving out there. And I think sometimes we just get too immersed with that idea and we forget that, that $800 payment is for 6 years because that's how they probably got them, and they're paying 13% interest. Yeah. And as long as they have the truck, they will hustle and do whatever. So it's never the work ethic that's at question. It's more about, did you think about what you could do instead of the truck, right?
Yeah.
And could you trust the process?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think we're all set. We're conditioned. Society doesn't make it easy. Social media doesn't make it easy. If you have the newest and the best, you're really not worth very much. And I do see how it does have a level of impact. Even myself, when I'm showing up to, meetings and being around other people, sometimes if I'm not with my higher end jacket, I'm like, dang, like maybe this isn't for me, but we need to change that dynamic, and we all struggle with it.
Yeah,
we all
for
struggle with it. So, there's a lot of these, factors, that's a big one. So, went off on a tangent there, but during that process where I was really sick, I had a lot of medical bills, like tons of medical bills.
Oh, I bet.
So, at the end of it all, I can proudly say that I never got any debt relief. I paid to the last penny every single piece of debt that I had. Again, making mistakes. So why do I feel that I am an advisor that can really earn your trust quickly? One, because I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, a lot. And if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. I mean, that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who is sitting in front of you. Yeah. No one gets spoon-fed a manual to be a dad, to have the best financial picture. Nobody.
Oh.
Right? You learn by making mistakes. Yeah. And that is the one thing I am very proud of. I've made tons of mistakes financially and non-financially that have propelled me to, when I give, my opinion, when I give my feedback, I feel very confident in that, and it should never be misinterpreted as the ego part. Yeah. It's more of like, if you get to know my story, I'm proud to share that because it gives more context. Sometimes we do need to hear, well, tell me about you. Tell me about how you got to this point. Like, we came from dumpster diving for food,
So you understand a lot of people's situations.
Yeah, like that. And a lot of people are like, in Costa Mesa, get out of here, you're lying.
Yeah. No, Costa Mesa has some rough parts.
Yeah. And even if they're not rough, what does that have anything to do with, the way you were brought up? Like, you could live.
You didn't know your situation.
Like you don't, right? Like you don't know someone's struggle unless you get to know them. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
And so anyway, long-winded, right? But
no, man, amazing, bro. Just amazing. You have to go through it to teach, to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you have to. So
and there's so much more, right? Like I could look back and there's so many situations I can think of that have led me to where I am today. But in a nutshell, my obviously the things that were in my upbringing, some people that were in my life, my friends. I mean, friends, the circle, the inner circle that you carry yourself with does have huge impacts on your life, right? If you have toxicity in your life, you're gonna just see that in your
product of your environment, man.
Yeah. So along the way, I've tweaked my friendships and definitely quality over quantity.
Thank you.
Whereas I was growing up, it was all about quantity over quality. I was the type of person like, hey, we're going to throw a party. Let's call Juan Carlos, and Juan Carlos is going to get everybody here.
Yeah.
Right. And, so, along the way, it just changes. And I've just seen it so often. And you can always get a reminder of certain things. So this is my blood growing up. My friend Beto passed away last year from alcoholism. 35 years old. Wow. He was my ride or die for so many years. I mean, when I look back at when I was growing up, he was a big part of it. But at some point, bro, I decided that friendship was no longer for me because I didn't want that in my life, right? And so, long story short to that is he passes away, and it's like it served me a reminder to stay in touch with those that, right after that, I called whoever I needed to call and say, hey, look, we haven't talked in a little while, but we're pretty close. So if I did something, my bad, bro. Like, my bad. It also reminds me that life is too short. So am I giving my best as a husband? Am I giving my best as a son, as a father, and as a business owner? Because I'm very prideful in what I have. So, again, sometimes you just need these reminders, and it's human. It's very, very human to have to go back and get that reminder. And along the way, you meet great people like you guys, who I met.
Appreciate it.
That's love.
Giving me some feedback, some help that I needed in my practice for a project that I want to start. So, that's just, it just goes a really, really long way. And having that, the friends and family, the platform to be able to do that, amazing role models around. Like I've always said, my younger brother, Ricky, he's a assistant principal up north. He lives in Castroville, and he works in a lower income high school community, and he's an assistant principal. To me, that's a role model. Like,
big time. Running a school. Yeah, for sure.
His wife, my sister-in-law Priscilla, she's a counselor, I believe, and don't hate me if I get this wrong, sister, but she gives a lot of community work back, works with a lot of the community to start to get out of these set stones for us that don't really need to be there. Like we can be much better, right? My younger brother is he works at Hoke Hospital, and he's climbed up his career to the point where he's in management.
Nice.
And he's only 30 years old.
Wow.
Well, he's 30. He's 32, something like that. He was born in 91, so whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Arturo has climbed from cleaning to doing the dirty, and that grind is, again, exemplary, right?
Yeah.
And then his my other sister-in-law, she's a teacher. She's a teacher at
Nice.
and you know, the passion that she leads with, and her vision on where we should be is, you know, again, you look at it and you're like, man, these role models are all over you.
Yeah.
You know, my sister-in-law from my wife's side, you know, she's a single mom of 2. You get to see the grind, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what adversity I face, I'm going to crush it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my wife, you know, being able to endure, you know, the relationship that brought Aaron, living the single mom life, the finding common ground with someone who, you know, is a different point in their life. You know, I love the person that I am, but I'm sometimes very hard to deal with, you know, because I'm like, I'm always like, hey, if I say today I'm going to do this, like the same day I'm like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
right?
I'm like that too.
And so my wife, God, I mean, she is like the lifeline of our family, right? You can't just have what I'm doing, and she carries such a big responsibility to bring it all down, like start to, you know, let's eliminate some of that noise outside. You know, I know you're doing your thing, but hey, you know, let's bring it back. Like, it takes a lot of strength to be able to do that.
That's
true. So, you know, you're always, these reminders are sometimes that if you look like, hey, everybody, you know, surround yourself with the people that are in that same grind, that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing. I mean, I think that's incredible in itself.
Yeah, man. Yeah, keep your circle tight.
Yeah, super tight.
Yeah,
the tighter, the better, right?
Absolutely, man.
You know, that's interesting because I read something where it said like 64 million people are like in credit card debt. Nearly 49% of U.S. adults have less savings or no savings in the bank account.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's these huge gaps between lower class, middle class, and upper class people?
I think it's how we value money, right? It's what we want to get out of the grind that we're doing, right? I think the biggest thing that's missing is the big bad B word, and it's not the one you're thinking. It's
Beyonce.
It's budget. Okay. Now, whenever I'm sitting down with anybody, when I say the word budget, like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, dude. I have to give up my Starbucks. I have to give up this. I have to give up that, right?
Everybody's vices, you know? Fuck.
And so it's like, I'm not, you know, the way that I do budget is, let's look at your budget. And if we don't do a change at all, you've already gained a step in the right direction by understanding what your picture looks like today. So, for example, I always tell everybody, I'm a human GPS for financial planning.
Right.
Okay. The first thing I like to do is understand where you are today. What influences your finances today?
Right.
And where you want to be tomorrow. Okay. So that's whether it's a year from now, 2, 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, right? I want to be a millionaire by the time I retire, but I want to buy a house in 5 years. Perfect. So just like you're in a GPS, you plug in your current location and your destination.
Right.
Perfect. Second piece. This is where my passion comes in. Providing education and clarity. You turn on the news, social media, and he said this, she said that, and they all said this, and they're all saying this, and like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So let's, you know, I provide clarity by eliminating a lot of that over communication, that confusing communication, and really bring it down. And I provide education, that literacy, like, hey, well, you need to do this. Did you know that you could do this? You know, and there's so much power in that. So what that looks like on a GPS, you know, you use Apple Maps and it tells you this is the fewer turns, this is the faster way, this is the toll road, right? You get options, right? Because whenever you embark on a financial journey, there's a lot of things that will come up, a lot of stress, you know, risk. Obviously, you want to get there the fastest way, but if there's an accident, like for example, right, you want to get to Corona from Costa Mesa. That's the 91. If there's an accident right at the bridge before you get to Green River, that's it.
Yeah.
You are done.
Yeah.
Like you're stuck, right? But is it the fastest way? Absolutely, right? So you always have to know that, there, whatever roadmap that you choose, you have to have the most information you possibly can about that particular roadmap. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, most important, is I hold your hand. Okay? Because no matter what happens, you're always going to be faced with an adjustment.
Right.
Always. It doesn't matter. No one has the perfect picture. Right. Nobody. At some point in time, they had to make a decision. There was an accident. There was, the economy right now is not, where we'd all like it. So, clients have to make adjustments in their investment portfolio or in their financial picture, whatever that may be, in their budget. Eggs are $8. So now I'm going to cut back my Starbucks once a week so I can afford that uptick, right? So there's always going to be an adjustment that you have to make. And it doesn't matter what the financial goal. I work with them all. I know them all. If I don't, I have a strategic partner that's going to enlighten us. But I'm a human GPS for financial planning. I look to understand where you are today, where you want to be tomorrow. Nice. I provide you clarity and education on the options you have. So budgeting, I think one of the other big factors when you're budgeting is that, everyone has a fear of, oh my God, I'm going to realize what's going on. Like, I don't want anyone to see that I have a $800 truck payment that I love, but I know that it was a mistake. We all have a fear. It's like, someone said it to me one time. It's like, someone is going through your panty drawer without letting you know, right? Like, it's that uncomfortable sometimes, I feel like. Yeah. For someone to go through their budget or through their financial plan, whatever it may be. So it's really hard to get to the point where you budget. But once you do, I think it gives you that clarity that you're looking for. And you stop to, right now, because you don't do budgeting, you probably put it on a credit card or you do an installment plan or something like that. Whereas if you had a budget, maybe that wouldn't be a factor. You don't have to go to those resources, right? And, most people, get the credit card a pre-approval letter at home.
Oh, yeah. 10,000, 5,000, whatever the case may be.
Yep. And they all want to, they just all go through it, and that's like, again, society, it's, you hear a lot of like people, like they ask me, Juan Carlos, do you believe in that? You should pay everything with your credit card and then pay it off at the end of the month because you're accumulating points because you're doing this. Absolutely. But if you are seasoned in your budgeting, if you're not, you're just putting things on a credit card. And then when the payment comes, you're like, well, I'm only going to pay 80% of it. Yeah. And then I'll pay the rest of it next month. And then you don't, for some reason, it doesn't hit you that you're adding more. And now you're only paying 80% of that new amount. And then you just keep going, and that's why the credit card balances get higher and higher, right? And then you hear something like, 0% for a year. Oh, I'm going to go do it. Yeah. And then what happens? You miss on the mark of the goal of paying it off. And now the 0% is over. And now you have that credit card plus whatever other credit card. And you never address the issue of your budget, of going back and looking in the mirror. And if I want to live, XYZ, if I want to live in XYZ and I want XYZ car and this and that, it's going to cost me this amount of money. Am I doing what I need to do now to get to that point? Am I going to achieve those goals? Like, how are you going to know if you're just going in blindfolded, right? Like, it's like human GPS, right? Most of the time, wherever you go, it doesn't matter if you've been there. You plug it into your GPS, like, oh, what's traffic look like? Yeah. Oh, is there a better way around it? Oh, let me use Waze or let me use Google Maps because they're going to give me more insight, right? Like, nobody rarely goes on starts a journey to a destination that they've never been to before and not plug it into a GPS, right? So how are you going to get somewhere if if you're not using the resources that you have around you.
Yeah. Should I still do it? If I know where I'm going, I still do it just in case, just to make sure I get there.
I do it all the time. Like coming here, like I know how Corona the 91 gets.
Oh,
so
it's fucking.
I wanted to make sure that there was no traffic or whatever it may be, right? So
you can plan properly and,
That's
and
right.
leave at a certain time
right.
or whatever the case may be.
That's
Same thing
right.
with budgeting,
Yep,
right?
Yep. And then you hear phrases like, "Oh, but if you don't have credit or your credit isn't good, don't worry, we are going to take care of you." Are they really?
No.
By offering you outrageous interest payments? Some clients, when I'm going through something like this or prospects, I tell them, look, for example, the vehicle is very popular. The car is going to cost you 40 grand, but with the interest they're charging you at the end of it, you paid $70,000 for this car. Do you realize that?
Oh, shit.
Oh, sí, I do. Sí, pero pues, it's not like I paid $70,000 up front. I'm like, oh my God, like you're missing the point.
Yeah.
So, budget allows you to do that. And I think, something that my wife and I, when we started doing our finances together, she was used to something different. She was a single mom and, took care of herself and this and that. And so sometimes we had discussions like, honey, do you think that this type of spending is worth derailing owning a home? And sometimes that in itself is like, boom, powerful.
Reality
right?
check.
Yeah.
Is your Starbucks, habit worth delaying or affecting your credit so that next year you can't buy a home?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And when you put
That's a
it,
good way to put it. Mhm.
yeah, and you can't say that unless you have a goal. And my goal is to buy a home, right?
Right.
If you don't have any goals, then what's the ramification? What's the consequence?
Yeah. Nothing.
You can't relate it. So it's all relatable. It's all, budgets aren't meant to, to make you fearful of the life you want to live. You can still have fun. You can still party. You can still eat out. You can still have your Starbucks. It's just you get to make a decision with the clarity and education on the impacts it's going to have on your financial goals.
Nice. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to be making over 100K either, right? You could be making 40, 50K a year, but as long as your budgeting is on par, you can have a fruitful life, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, people, like I said, I have clients that have absolutely zero money invested with me, right? But they have an income that is incredible. And what's happened is they just haven't been able to use it. They don't know how to use that platform. It's like, one of my main goals this year is to lose weight, right? So if someone came to me and said, hey, look, free gym, free trainer, free this, free that, I still have to show up. I still have to walk through that door, right? So, most people, the more money you make, the more money problems you have. Naturally, taxes. If you're making more money, you want better things. You want to live in a better place. This, and that.
Right.
And so when I look at like my financial picture, a couple of years ago, I was buying a condo that I bought for $350,000, and right now it's like whatever home I'm buying this year is going to cost me at least $1 million.
Oh yeah.
So the reality is, could I have done this, 5 years ago? No. Could I have done this if my income that even the income that I have now that I'm very grateful for, if I didn't have a budget, I still could not achieve that goal. And it's still up in the air. I may not be able to achieve that goal, right? So it's everybody, regardless of the income. Some people can make, 30,000, make it seem like it's 200,000.
Yeah.
So
just based off the budget.
just based off of how you're using that money,
Absolutely.
right?
That's crazy. Do you have a more formidable way of saving? Like, what are some steps to making a huge impact on savings, like people saving?
So one is obviously the goal. Like, what do we want to do? If you want to buy a home next year and it's only going to cost you maybe, you hear these TikTokers and Instagrammers say like, look, you can get in with $30,000 to a home. The truth is the down payment is only going to be $30,000, but the mortgage payment is going to be off the roof, right? So you still have to have an income. But if they have the income and all they need is a $30,000, like how fast can I get there, right? But you need a goal. So the goal there. The other thing is how you do your banking. I'm a fan of, and maybe I don't think I'm a creator, but I've never seen anyone do finances this way. I do the 4 account. I do have 4 accounts. My wife and I, our income goes into one account. That's the bills account.
Nice.
Every bill that we have gets automatically debited from that account. And we do bi-weekly check-ins. So she gets paid every 2 weeks. I get paid on a monthly basis. So every 2 weeks, though, we have an allocated amount of money that goes into the bills account. And it gets left there to pay off whatever bills are for that bi-weekly period. Then I have 3 other accounts: a savings, I have a needs account, and I have a wants account. The first thing we fund is the savings account. Nice. You pay yourself first. Reward yourself first for that hard work that you've put in the last 2 weeks. So you pay yourself first. Now, sometimes that's $100. Sometimes that's $500. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it can fluctuate.
Right.
That's why I check in every, on a biweekly period, on a monthly period, whatever it may be. Okay. After that is said and done, then I put money into my needs account. Needs are like gas, things you absolutely need. Gas, groceries. It's not eating out. It's not I forgot my lunch, so I'm going to take the money from needs to buy. None of that. It's something you absolutely need. A haircut.
Gas in the car.
Gas. My wife's, makeup. Whatever it may be. Sounds funny, but everything you buy has a want or a need. It's either one or the other. There's no like in between. Okay.
Yeah.
And then after I fund the needs, I fund the
wants.
Wants is eating out, having fun, anything fun. Okay. Right. It's my Netflix because I don't need it. Mm-hmm. I want it. Okay. Things as small as that. Right. My son, if he wants, V-Bucks for Fortnite. Yeah. That's a want. It's not something that I need to give him. It's something that I want to give him. And so I don't do the credit card thing for your ordinary purchases. I do it for bills and bigger expenditures, which, we do have. And it's just our financial profile at this point. But it wasn't like that at the beginning. I'm not, like I said, a fan of that unless you're dead set on you have a budget and you can follow it. So my wants covers all of that. Now, I have 2 debit cards, one for needs and one for wants. Anytime I need gas, I know there's a lot of these features, but it just doesn't work for me. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to work for you, but it may work for you, right? So you have to know what the options are, the clarity on the options. Right. So, once those accounts, like at first when we started this, she'd swipe it. Oh, declined. There's no more money in needs, but I need gas. I'm going to have to grab it from the wants. Okay, so she'd swipe it there, right? Okay, and then she wanted, I didn't bring my lunch. And then she'd say, hey, the card's getting declined. It's like, well, we don't have any more money. Well, I didn't bring a lunch. So sorry. Right?
Maruchan.
And it's not just that way, right? There's been plenty of times where I'm like, I forgot my lunch at home. And she's like, well, there's no money in the wants. So you're going to have to either come home and work from home or, sacrifice, just like we all have, it's like, it's not just her, it's just, examples. But once that debit card goes into decline mode, that's it. Right. And we've had conversations where it's like, really, honey? Or her to me, like, hey, I don't know, what's something that I normally do. I'm not a big, and neither is she. So we didn't really struggle, but what we did struggle with, and we still to this point, is we eat out a lot. Right. And so, for example, we burn sometimes through, and this is active. So, transparency. That's the other thing I love about my practice is I'm very transparent. I'm going to tell you all the mistakes that I'm making and the struggles that I go through every day because everyone goes through them. Right. So there's times now where we fund the wants account and in one weekend we burned it on eating out, on taking the kids this and that. And we have to face each other on a Monday like, oh, shit. We have to go virtually 11 more days with absolutely no money for fun. No eating out. Because we burned it in one weekend. Yeah. Right? But here's the beauty of it. We recognize that we burned it and that's it.
Yeah. That's it.
Right? And so now it's like, that's it. Right? Whereas before, she'd swipe like, oh, I didn't cook anything. So, we're going to go buy. I'm like, really? Well, I don't want to have that be an expenditure I take from savings because that's where it would come from.
Yeah.
I don't really want to delay owning the car or the home that I want because we're not going to cook at home. Like that sounds
come on. We have the food to cook.
Yeah.
Like, let's just cook.
Exactly.
Right?
So, it's sticking to the game plan. It's trusting the process. And it's, at the end of the day, it's just like anything else. It takes commitment.
Yeah.
Right?
Discipline.
It takes commitment and discipline. So if it's too good to be true, it ain't for you.
Oh, okay.
If it's too good to be true, it ain't for you. Nothing in this world is easy. Nothing. I mean, when I see TikTokers and Instagrammers and they're like, oh, well, you can be a millionaire tomorrow. Like if you do this, like, yeah, but you have to be able to talk about the process.
True.
Because most people, they love looking at the beginning and the end of the project.
Yeah.
They don't like the in between. And if it's adjustments along the way, they need to know what that's going to look like up front, full transparency, so that we understand if they're going to be able to get through that or not. And if we don't think, as an advisor, if I don't think they're going to, then that's not the plan for them. We need to keep working to see what kind of plan I can be confident in that they're going to be able to stick to.
Got it. Nice. Man. Well said. So let's highlight some of your future endeavors that you got going on. One, you have the podcast coming out.
Yes.
One-on-one.
Yes.
And then you also have the Latino Legacy Project. So tell me about these endeavors that you're diving in and what's your goals within these endeavors.
So, I'll start with Latino Legacy because that's where everything kind of stems. Latino Legacy is part of my practice. It's a commitment to the Spanish-speaking community and all of the underserved communities to provide clarity and education through a process that is very, without like feeling of commitment, without feeling of pressure, a very non-confrontational way of addressing financial concerns. Okay. It's going out. So I do a lot of work with like ROP programs, a lot of programs that work with the district, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I like targeting high schools because that's where the money conversation needs to happen before they start to get out there and start racking up that credit card debt, thinking that, these foolish jobs are going to get them the lifestyle that they want. Real world scenarios. So I go out there, I teach, I give my opinion, I show them, I'm very transparent, I give them tools, I really immerse myself in what I would have liked to have heard. And more importantly, the way, right? Because I remember being in high school and they brought, Mr. Chocolate, I remember him, an ex-cholo, just telling me why not to be a cholo. And I was like, well, yeah, duh, dude, like, based on what happened to you, like, I don't want to be in your shoes, right? But I never got the message, and the message needs to be delivered in a way that's understandable for that age group. They think very differently, and they deal with very different things. They deal with TikTok, Instagram, with the world telling them that they need to rack up credit card debt in order to have the very best of the best, because in the long run, they're going to have a better job that pays that down. And the reality, a lot of the times, that doesn't happen, right? Like, no. So, Latino Legacy is all about giving a platform to Latinos to feel comfortable having that conversation, okay? And everyone, not just Latinos. It's almost every community has an underserved population where they feel like fear of opening up, right? Like, I'm going to open up my financial picture and I'm going to be judged, and they're going to look down on me. That'll never be the case with JCV Wealth Management and with my Latino project. Never. Latino Legacy is here to give you the level of comfort and trust that you need to have in order to really make changes in your financial picture that are going to have long-lasting ramifications that are positive ramifications.
Nice.
So, I built financial planning platforms that are very obtainable as far as price goes. Your traditional financial plan will cost you anywhere from, $2,000 to $4,000, just to get something done for someone to say, okay, here you go. I won't get into pricing, but my pricing is nowhere near that. And it's not only just here you go. It's if you hold my hand, I'm going to hold it with you. And we're going to get to a point where at some point I got to pay the bills, with the work that I'm putting in. So, it's still a business, but I put a lot of passion into it. And so I'm able to stretch, my practice now is, God has been so good that I don't need to focus on ramifications of, the financial compromise that I'm giving in these particular situations. I can be more open. I can be more transparent. I can help a little bit more, with the idea that if you're going to work with me at some point, this dynamic will change. But I promise you, once you're there, you're going to say, well, yeah, absolutely. Like, now my financial picture has grown, has changed. I can afford to, work with you to the degree that it requires. Right. And that's another thing. Like, Latino Legacy is out there to change that idea that wealth is not for everyone. Wealth is for everyone. Absolutely. Wealth is for everyone. I mean, that's just like the biggest thing. If you want to build a relationship beyond the numbers, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Right? Like, wealth is for everyone. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be retired. You could be divorced. You can be a widow. You can be starting from scratch. You can be a small business owner, a big business owner, a corporate executive. It doesn't matter where you are. A financial plan exists for everyone, because everyone has a goal. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be, you don't need to have a fear that pricing is going to delay you from that. There are so many platforms, not just with me, but around the world. There are so many platforms that are so easily obtainable and financially affordable that if you don't research it, it's like, don't be ignorant. I hate using that word, but it's a lot of ignorance if you don't want to explore that, because there are so many resources, so many. You just have to go out there and actually do, the work, the research, the homework. Right. Don't get talked into the first thing you've heard. Ask tons of questions and then take it from there. So Latino Legacy is a project to reinforce the idea of building wealth through means that are absolutely obtainable by just about anyone that wants to be better financially. If they want to be better, the resources are there.
Gotta want to.
Yeah.
Now, dive into your podcast, a one-on-one, which is a creative name. I love the name.
So one-on-one, Juan Carlos, one-on-one is all about bringing in members of the communities that have built an empire from scratch. And I'll give you a perfect example. And I love you, brother, for this, but I'm doing it again for this. My older brother has been in the restaurant business for a while. And this guy is one of the most hardworking people I've ever met in my life. But that's all he has in his mind. Hardworking, hard work. I want him to hear, for example, one of my guests is a individual that came here with nothing, was a dishwasher for so many years, did a lot of things to promote his himself financially and through various other means, gets to the point where he's moved up the chain so far that now he moved to Nashville, Tennessee. He owns a couple of premier steakhouses.
Wow.
Okay. And so when my brother hears that interview, that conversation, I want him to think to himself like, dude, that's my story right there. You know what? If he did it, why can't I?
Yeah.
And that's what I want one-on-one talks to be about. I want you to listen and hear about someone who built an empire from scratch, not someone that got handed something and created something bigger. Yeah. I admire those people. Yeah. Right. But this particular podcast / video on YouTube that you'll be able to watch is going to be about potentially associating yourself mentally with someone that has been down that path and saying to yourself like, dang, if he did it, I can do it. And that's kind of where,
nice.
How it stemmed. Yeah.
Well, Juan, seriously, we wanted to bring you on just to provide an insight on this financial struggle that seems to be a struggle worldwide with a large percentage of people. And you put a lot of things in perspective. And that's one of the biggest goals that we wanted to first was hear your story so we can get the foundation of why you do what you do. And then for you to provide us with financial education on how we can attack certain things, how we can gain certain things, and step by step move up in this big old gigantic world and just gain more confidence with our financial stability, with our jobs, with our with our goals and everything, man. And you really nailed that like to the T, man.
I appreciate that.
For sure.
Absolutely appreciate that.
For sure, man. Jimmy, we got some fun questions,
Yes,
man.
sir. Let's get into these fun questions.
We get to
do
this freaking music here. Here we go.
Awesome. Question number 1.
Yeah.
If you came with the warning label, what would it state?
Oh, all right. Warning label. I can be overly passionate.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
I can be overly passionate, so that's a flaw for sure. Sometimes I'm willing to throw almost anything and everything towards something and forget that there could be consequences to those around me or even my particular, individual self. So that's definitely it. There's so much passion.
Awesome. Credit card or layaway?
I'm gonna go layaway for the sentiment. No, layaway reminds me of the big Kmart that we used to go to. There used to be a Little Caesars in there. So most of the time, if you spend a certain amount of money, you get a coupon. And I knew that we were for sure gonna blow it out of the water, and we'd get Little Caesars. So, whatever gives me 0%, I'll take.
Awesome. The year is 2050. What is the price of Bitcoin?
Oh, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Bitcoin is not important. Ethereum is important.
Ooh, okay.
I like it.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Awesome.
Another one.
If you had an opportunity to have a message on the billboard, what would it state?
Billboard. Individually or for my practice?
Just whatever.
Individually, your own message that you want to give to the people or for your practice, yeah.
I would say for my practice, it'd be if you're looking for a relationship beyond the numbers, right? You and anyone can go out there and find someone, an advisor, a robo-advisor, a bank institution, or someone that's going to say, hey, 1 + 1 is 2, okay?
Right.
And 1 - 1 is 0. So you made no money this year, you made some money this year. 99.9% of advisors can do that out there. If you're looking for someone that's going to go and say, Jimmy, tell me why this is important to you. I want to know about your son. I want to know about what your son is thinking, what his goals are. I want to know about what is important to your wife. I want to know what gets you in trouble at home. That's what I want to know, because all of that has a bigger impact on your financial picture, way more than what you think and way more than what people think. Their surrounding environment can have huge influence on what you do, right? So if my wife says, last night there were some UFC fights and I was very attracted to maybe making a financial increase. But I absolutely love that Grasso won. But, if she doesn't give me the okay, I don't do it. Right? So if someone was telling me like, hey, they could have put a perfect plan for me to make some moolah yesterday, and it doesn't matter if she wasn't on board, it wasn't going to happen.
Oh yeah.
So that is more important, or just as important as what you want to accomplish.
Nice. If we had no banks, what would be the best place to store our money? Under a mattress or buried in the backyard?
Buried in the backyard. If it's gonna get lost, well, let it get lost to los muertitos.
Most used app on your phone?
Most used app on my phone. My email, because my work email
Goes nuts.
goes
Bonkers.
Yep.
Give us 3 apps that will help us manage our money better.
Ooh.
Okay. So, that's a good one. Hold on. Let me think of that for a second. Manage our money better. Man, that's gonna suck. I don't know if I'm gonna have the 3 for you, but let me explain it. Let me explain it why. One is if you work with me, if you're a friend of mine and you want my budget sheet, I email it to you. Okay, and then you pull it up on Excel. So the one app is gonna be Excel.
Okay.
Why? Because you're able to see it on there. You're able to track exactly what's going on in a way that I can explain it, and you're gonna go home and say like, oh, I get it.
Now I
So
understand.
yeah, exactly. So that's one. The second thing is, if you don't have an advisor, if nothing that I said for you today was sparked interest in reaching out to me, go on your bank app and open an investment account and talk to the whatever resource that is going to be available for you, and just start doing something. Okay. So your bank app can go a long way.
Right.
If you want to explore, I'm trying to think of an app. I just don't really use
Yeah, a couple apps.
Apps really for that, because I am still a little bit more old school. Like I want to see the app, but I will get back to you on something like that.
Sounds good.
I just don't do that because I'm very transparent with my circle.
Right.
If you want my worksheets, you can have them.
Nice.
Nice, man. Hell yeah.
Okay, last one here. I am Juan Carlos Vazquez, and I am
Superman.
nice. Good shit, man. Good shit.
Man, let that breathe. Man, again, we can't thank you enough for coming by.
Absolutely.
We're always a resource. If you ever need anything within this game or even outside of this game, like, you come into the podcast, you're now familia. So whatever we need to do, we'll do it, and we'll help each other and go along the way. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So
I
we're a resource for
appreciate
you,
that.
man, for
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I do have an ask. This is what I ask of every one of my clients and everyone that's surrounding me. If you took something good away from this conversation, be a beacon of light for those that need it. Go out there, have the conversation. I think a lot of the times we refrain from it because I don't want you to do better than me, or you know what, we're not cool enough for me to share, or I just don't want to expose myself to those type of conversations. The reality is the more we talk about it, the more in we get. So be a beacon of light. If I was a beacon of light for you on any topic, it doesn't matter. Then go out and be that beacon of light for someone else.
Beast. How can they follow you? How can they get in touch with you? How can they, become that?
Everything on my platforms is JCV Wealth. So www.jcvwealth.com. My YouTube channel, JCV Wealth. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Everything is at JCV Wealth.
Nice.
So pretty good.
Yeah,
If
you were able to get that too. You were able to get that
Easy.
across the board. Dope.
Absolutely. Just
I know that he was able to get that on every platform. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. My email, contact@JCV Wealth.
Nice.
So,
Jimmy, how can
Easy
they
to
follow you?
Yes, follow my Instagram, Jimmy_Buckets24. Follow my Twitter, JimmyBuckets08. Follow our podcast. Yes, follow those.
Nice, man. You can follow me at MF True So True, TRUSOTRU. Also follow the podcast, Fight for the Mic podcast. We pretty much control all the Google engines for that name as well. So if you Google Fight for the Mic, we're literally all over it. So follow us, be in contact with us, DM us. You want to sponsor anything, we are up for it. We want all the smoke, and that's pretty much it. Gentlemen, do you guys have any last words?
Invest in
Not at all.
crypto.
do your due diligence, and let's build an empire.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yow.
We were smart, weren't you? You became rich with my soul now.